Okay, here are some of the topics that I will need to be able to use in a coding challenge that I will receive in a few hours. My eyes are very fatigued, and I have a good text-to-speech reader, so this is what I would like. Here is a list of topics. Add event listeners, incrementing a value, likes plus one, click buttons, incrementing like toggling things such as class names, true, false, submit forms, get requests for each, iterating over fetch data, creating, updating, and deleting nodes for elements, post, patch, delete. Now I missed a few of the things our instructors said, so please fill in the blanks and generate text that I can have read to me with my text-to-speech tool that will teach me in the voice of the best, kindest, funniest software engineering teacher in the world about JavaScript and these topics from basic to implementation. This software teacher remembers to remind me because I'm a beginner of exactly what function, callback functions, variable, the dots, the commas, the semicolons. This software teacher remembers to speak the code in English. So what we have is, 1. Prepare me for my JavaScript coding challenge. Make sure to cover the basics. 2. Generate text from my text-to-speech reader. 3. For the code samples, make sure to extract code to English and explain the code very well. 4. Add a sense of humor in some comparisons, similes, etc. So like this works like a verb does in a sentence, or this is like an echo coming back to you, but slightly modified, etc. Now generate the text and I will have it read to me while I rest my eyes. Answer: certainly. Here is a tailored guide to help you prepare for your JavaScript coding challenge, covering the topics you mentioned in a fun and informative way. Introduction to JavaScript Basics. JavaScript is like the seasoning in a recipe. It adds flavor and functionality to your web pages. Imagine it as the conductor of an orchestra, directing different elements to create a harmonious symphony on your website. Event listeners. Think of event listeners as attentive waiters at a restaurant. They listen for specific actions, like a click or hover, and then trigger functions accordingly. It's like having a personal assistant who reacts when you snap your fingers. Incrementing a value. Incrementing a value is like counting sheep before sleep. Each click adds one more sheep to the flock. It's akin to filling up a piggy bank. Every click adds a coin. Likes plus one. Adding likes is similar to giving high fives. Each time you click the like button, it says if you're cheering on a friend, go, you're doing great. Toggling class names. Toggling class names is like changing outfits. You can switch between casual and formal attire with just a click, transforming your webpage appearance effortlessly. Submit forms and get requests. Submitting forms is like mailing a letter. You fill in the details, hit send, and wait for a response. Get requests are like asking for directions. You request information from a server and receive the necessary guidance for each and fetch data. Using for each is akin to examining each item in a grocery list. You go through each item one by one. Fetching data is like ordering pizza delivery. You make a request and patiently wait for your data pizza to arrive. Creating, updating, and deleting nodes. Creating nodes is like planting seeds in a garden. You nurture them into beautiful elements on your webpage. Updating nodes is similar to editing a document, making changes to keep things fresh. Deleting nodes is like decluttering your workspace, removing unnecessary items to maintain order. Post, patch, delete. Post, patch, delete are actions similar to cooking. Posting is adding a new recipe. Patching is adjusting seasoning in an existing dish, and deleting is clearing the table after enjoying your meal. Conclusion. In JavaScript, every line of code is like a brushstroke on a canvas. Together, they create a masterpiece. Remember, coding is an art form where creativity meets logic. So, embrace the challenge with enthusiasm and curiosity. Feel free to have this text read aloud by your text-to-speech tool while you rest your eyes. Good luck with your coding challenge. You've done a great job. I just need code samples for each topic. Please add those also. None of the analogies or comparisons should be about anything general. Only use them when accurately describing JavaScript, the coding language. Answer: certainly. Here are code samples for each topic you mentioned, explained in a straightforward and detailed manner. Event listeners. This code snippet attaches an event listener to a button element with the ID My Button. When the button is clicked, it logs button clicked to the console. Incrementing a value. Here, we initialize a count variable to 0 and define a function to increment it by 1 each time it's called. The function logs the updated count value to the console. Likes plus 1. This code snippet demonstrates increasing the likes count by 1 each time the addLike function is called, displaying the updated number of likes. Toggling class names. In this example, when an element with the class toggle is clicked, it toggles the active class on and off, changing its appearance dynamically. Submit forms and get requests. The first part shows how to handle form submission by preventing the default behavior, accessing form data, and logging the username. The second part demonstrates making a GET request using the Fetch API to retrieve data from an API endpoint. For each and fetch data, the for each loop iterates over each item in the data array and logs it to the console. The fetch function retrieves data from an API endpoint and logs the response data, creating, updating, and deleting nodes. These snippets showcase creating a new element, updating an existing element's content, and removing an element from the DOM using JavaScript. Post, patch, delete. These snippets demonstrate making post, patch, and delete requests using the Fetch API in JavaScript to interact with the RESTful API for creating, updating, and deleting resources. Feel free to use these code samples for each topic in your JavaScript coding challenge. Happy coding. Okay, now merge those code samples with explanatory text and generate one article that I can have my speech-to-text tool read to me. Answered, sure. Here's an article combining the code examples with explanatory text. A comprehensive guide to JavaScript coding techniques. JavaScript is the lifeblood of modern websites, powering dynamic interactions and functionalities. To excel in JavaScript programming, understanding various techniques is crucial. Let's explore several key concepts. These allow us to respond to user input, such as clicks or hovers. We attach an event listener to an HTML element, specifying which events to react to. For instance, increasing values is common in games or counters. By using, we can increment a variable by 1. For example, users often want to express approval. We can easily add a like to a counter. For instance, changing styles based on user interaction is essential. Using, we can toggle a class name on and off, altering the style of an element. Form submissions require handling, while getting external data requires fetching. Looping over arrays and fetching remote data are fundamental tasks. Manipulating the document object model DOM is vital. Interacting with servers via HTTP methods is critical. By mastering these techniques, you'll become adept at crafting interactive and responsive JavaScript applications. Keep practicing, and happy coding. Again, that is excellent, and you can regenerate that code. But please put the code samples under each topic. So it would be topic heading 1 describes what you're explaining opening paragraph code snippets and what they do, then at least one very good coded example of the topic in action. Topic heading 2 describes what you're explaining opening paragraph code snippets and what they do, then at least one very good coded example of the topic in action. Topic heading 3 describes what you're explaining opening paragraph code snippets and what they do, then at least one very good coded example of the topic in action, etc. Again, that is excellent, and you can regenerate that code. But please put the code samples under each topic. So it would be topic heading 1 describes what you're explaining opening paragraph code snippets and what they do, then at least one very good coded example of the topic in action. Topic heading 2 describes what you're explaining opening paragraph code snippets and what they do, then at least one very good coded example of the topic in action. Topic heading 3 describes what you're explaining opening paragraph code snippets and what they do, then at least one very good coded example of the topic in action, etc. Upgrade. Event listeners handling user interactions. 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 Event listeners are essential in JavaScript to respond to user actions like clicks or hovers. They enable dynamic interactions on web pages. When the button is clicked, the message button clicked will be logged to the console. Incrementing a value manipulating numeric data. Incrementing values is a common task in programming, especially for counters or tracking numerical data changes. It's called the count variable increases by 1 and logs the updated count value. Likes plus 1 interactive like counter. Implementing a like counter that increments by 1 with each interaction is a popular feature in web development. The likes variable increases by 1, and the updated number of likes is displayed. Toggling class names. Dynamic styling. Toggling class names allows for dynamic changes in styling based on user interactions, enhancing user experience. Clicking on the element toggles the active class on and off, altering its appearance dynamically. Submit forms and get requests. Handling form submissions and data fetching. Handling form submissions and fetching data from external sources are fundamental tasks in web development. The code snippet demonstrates handling form submission by preventing the default behavior and logging form data. It also showcases making a GET request to retrieve data from an API endpoint. Answer. Introduction to JavaScript Basics. Event listeners. Incrementing a value. Likes plus 1. Toggling class names. Submit forms